So welcome everyone to this webinar called Breaking New Ground, Stefan Tell's Journey to the Medtech Industry. And in November 2011, the economist Stefan Tell was recruited as the CEO of the Medtech company Synthetic MR. And without any previous knowledge within the medical sector, he was hired to commercialize the company's products and enter the international market. He ran the company for 7 years, and under his direction, the company signed agreements with three of the largest manufacturers of MRI systems in the world. And they were listed on the stock market. And he took the company from the startup phase to a profitable business worth 1,300 million Swedish crowns. And I have invited Stefan here today. So in a couple of minutes, we will get to know him a bit better and listen to his inspiring journey in a company with a complex technology breaking new ground. But first, I will start off by telling you a little bit about LEAD and who we are, for those of you who don't know us already. So my name is Lina Helgarsson. I am community manager at LEAD. So now, what is LEAD then? What do we do? Well, LEAD is a business incubator. So we help companies grow faster and safer. And you could say that we're basically accelerating the development of startups with high growth potential to become scalable growth companies. And we do that by providing idea owners and entrepreneurs a wide range of directed resources and services in order to develop the ideas into strong and successful companies. And this, of course, covers both social, environmental, and economic growth. And we have 2 offices here in Östergötland, 1 office in Linköping and 1 in Norrköping. And we are currently working with around 45 companies distributed over the 2 locations. And Synthetic MR is actually one of the alumni companies that we have. So they used to be a LEAD member in the beginning of their journey here at LEAD. So this webinar, Startup Talks, that you have come across is a monthly digital talk that LEAD organizes, where we invite inspiring and exciting entrepreneurs to share their stories and experiences. And hopefully it will inspire some of you to take that step towards the startup world. And I would like to take the opportunity to inform the audience that are sitting here listening today that you are more than welcome to ask any questions that might occur during the talk. And you do that by using the Q&A function down below. And I will try to raise the questions during the talk or afterwards. All right, so now to the reason why you have all joined us here today. Without further ado, I would like to give a warm welcome to Stefan Tell. So hi, Stefan.
Hi.
So nice to have you here. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you very much for inviting me. It's appreciated.
Nice. Okay, so let's start off by you telling us a little bit more about Synthetic MR. What does the company actually do?
So Synthetic MR is a software company, and it's based on an innovation from the founder, Marcel Warnches, who actually came up with a solution and the software that enables increased efficiency or faster workflow and to create objective decision support within the area of MRI exams. So that's Medtech and magnetic resonance imaging. So that's within radiology.
Mm-hmm. So like you said, the Synthetic MR has a Medtech product. So let's first sort out a bit more. What is Medtech? What does the Medtech industry do? And what's special about that industry compared to other industries?
Yes, I mean, basically you could place it under the umbrella of life science as the overall industry. And within life science, you have medical technology. And I mean, basically it's a technical product, service or a solution maybe that is used or could be used in order to prevent, diagnose, monitor, or treat patients, basically. So I would say that it's technology within healthcare.
And if you compare this to a a regular product, so to say, to get to the market? What are the differences when you want to get a medtech product into the market?
So I mean, you should for sure. The time plan is a little bit different, I would say, especially compared to maybe another pure tech company where you more maybe have a business to consumer business model like apps or whatever. I mean, there you can basically come up with idea one day, develop your idea, enter the market the next week, maybe, roughly. I know, but within the medtech industry, you have, I mean, firstly, you have a lot of regulations to comply to. Of course, you also have to validate your product to ensure that it's safe for the patient and that it actually delivers value and that it delivers what it promised to do, basically. So the road to get a medtech product out on the market is a lot longer than a normal tech or business to consumer product. On the other hand, I would say that you are building sort of a capability and unique position as well. So I mean, it's more challenging for competitors to try to do the same thing because they have to do the same type of investments.
So when you finally enter the market, it's more beneficial, less competition. Yeah. Okay. So, sorry.
Yes, for sure.
Okay. All right. So let's move on to you, a bit more about your background. Like I said in the beginning, you became CEO of Synthetic MR without any previous knowledge, actually, within the medical sector. So what were you doing before you took the job at Synthetic MR?
So before I joined Synthetic, I was actually employed by Siemens, and not within their healthcare sector at all. I was within the energy sector, and there I had various different positions, all from cost reduction to continuous improvements. But I also worked with strategy, mergers and acquisitions on headquarter level and so on and so forth. So I would say that business development, if you sort of should put one title on it. And I did 6 years at Siemens before I joined Synthetic MR. And before my time at Siemens, I actually had my own software company, or we worked with quality assurance within the IT industry. So my background is both as sort of an entrepreneur and in the big corporation sector.
So then how did you find Synthetic? How did that start?
So the thing was that I ended up at a senior management position within Siemens in 2010, I think it was. So I did sort of a rapid career at Siemens, aiming for a senior management position. But when I got there, I realized that this isn't me. I need to get back to sort of the small, more sort of flexible environment that a small company offers. I'm sort of too interested to make, changes and impact and so on and so forth. So I started to think about starting my own company again, actually supporting lead companies. That was sort of my aim, and therefore I started to build a relationship with lead as an organization. And during that time, when I was about to sort of quit Siemens, start my own consultancy company, then somebody, I don't remember who right now, within lead, sort of said, okay, so we have this company that actually has been a lead company for 3 years now. They are moving out, and they are looking for a CEO. So I got the job description, looked it through, did my analysis, and basically applied for the position. So that was how I ended up within the medtech industry.
Nice. And where was Synthetic at that time? You said you just moved out of Lead, but for people that don't know Lead that much, where in the process were the company when you entered?
So they had so Synthetic is founded in 2007. I joined in 2011. So the company was 4 years old. It had 2 full-time employees and 2 to 3 part-time employees, where the founder was one of the part-time employees. So he still did sort of half-time at the university doing research and half-time working for the company. And we were located at one of those flexible offices down at Klostergatan in Linköping, where we had 2 rooms basically. So it was an early phase, I would say.
So you were recommended this position by someone at Lead, and you said you did some analysis about the job. But what actually motivated you to, like I've been saying before, since it's a completely new industry for you and something that you haven't done before, what motivated you to apply for that job?
Yes, I mean some people would probably place me in the square of insane people, but I mean I moved away from a big established company with a senior position and a lot of safety nets around it to jump on a startup company, but I like challenges, and that was for sure one thing. The other thing was that I did a strategic analysis based on the knowledge that I had at that point of time to try to estimate whether I believed in this product or not. And I for sure believed in it, with increased healthcare costs, and you would have the possibility to join a company that actually could offer a product that could reduce cost and increase quality. So I think that sort of high-level market analysis, together with the big challenge of just jumping out on something new that I didn't, had much experience of, was the main motivation.
And it takes a lot of courage to do that. It's kind of the core of entrepreneurial person, or core of entrepreneurship, I would say. But
yeah, I think you're right, and I think that you always sort of could consider. I mean, if you start to sort of reflect on yourself and you realize that even when I'm in big organizations, I'm always trying to find improvements to things or processes or whatever it might be. Then if you find those and you spend time and you succeed in getting, some of those changes actually in place, then you are probably an intrapreneur. So that's an entrepreneur, but in a big organization. So then you have the personality, I think, and that could easily be translated to a small organization and a startup instead.
And then, like you said, seeing that you can actually change something, that it makes a difference.
Yeah,
that must be a big drive as well when you get into a startup.
Yeah, it is for sure. And one of the motivations for me was also that I was within the energy industry, and I was looking for, joining something where you bring a product to the market and where you actually could, add value for people. And this is, the medtech industry is very satisfying from that perspective. That you sort of every day can think that if I take one more step and get this product one step closer to the market, we are one step closer to help more people.
All right, so now we talked a bit about your motivation and why you applied for the job, but I'm a bit curious to know what did they see in you? Why did they hire someone with no experience within the medical industry?
So that's a very good question. It should probably be directed to the chairman of the board at that time rather than to me. But I think it's down to the personality rather than anything else. I mean, the skills, the technical skills. I mean, they for sure existed already in the company, right? But to get to really start to get it sort of market oriented and find a strategy to actually get it out on the market, that's another challenge. And I think that they sort of saw my personality in combination with maybe my experience from big organizations, and the fact that, I mean, it was pretty clear that we needed to collaborate with big organizations. And then there is always a strength that you know how they tick, so to say, how is the culture in big organizations, and so on and so forth. Yeah, that's what I believe in, at least. But I think it was more of the personality that they believed in my entrepreneurship.
So now you started working as the CEO of Synthetic. What was the first thing you did? What was your strategy or your plan as soon as you started working there?
So I mean, firstly, I spent quite a lot of time with the founder to try to understand, as far as I was able to do, I would say, the technology and the product and the potential benefits and so on and so forth. And based with that sort of knowledge, I actually spent the first couple of months just establishing a go-to-market strategy, which was presented to the board sort of 5-6 months after I joined, and we got acceptance. And that strategy was the one that I then implemented to establish collaborations with the big vendors, Siemens, Philips, and GE. So I mean, the first step was for sure to get the plan in place, from several different reasons. I think one is that you need a plan, right? But the other thing is that when you do the plan, you need to sort of gain understanding about the product and the market, which is important for the rest of the journey as well. And I actually joined a Medtech. There was an education in Stockholm called Go Global Medtech, which was hosted by Sting and Swedish Medtech, I think. And that was actually a good education as well, to sort of dive into, you know, different market dynamics within medtech and so on and so forth.
It sounds like you were really committed to get to know the industry and the product, and it's nice that you managed to have the time to do all that research.
Yeah, I mean, I think you just have to do it, right? If you don't know the market and if you don't know the need of your customers, then there is a million turns you can go wrong, right? So I mean, I think that you need to do the lesson to begin with.
And I'm a bit curious about maybe challenges, possibilities. What happened here in the beginning? You said that you made this plan that was implemented. Were there any challenges that you faced in the beginning, or what did it look like?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that entrepreneurship in general is, I mean, you will have challenges every day, right? So I usually describe any entrepreneurship journey as a roller coaster. So you will have your ups and downs, and there can be a lots of ups and downs during the same day or during a week or month or quarter. But I mean, there was for sure technical challenges, but also one of the challenges is to try to understand okay, so if we are to collaborate with the big vendors, what's in it for them? Because one thing is that you have an idea that we will sort of enable a change in this particular industry of MRI. But in order to get there, you need to find, so where is the strategic fit between what we can add and what the big vendors would like to achieve in order to, increase their competitiveness, I would say. So, but there is loads of challenges when you start a company, but that's sort of the big marketing challenges, how to sort of get through and try to get airtime with the big vendors. Yeah, but as a company, I would say we were lucky because we had the strong owners. The ownership was strong, and they believed in the company. So we didn't have to, hunt for new capital every quarter. But I mean, with that said, we developed the company with not that much money. I mean, from the start until profitability, I think that we raised 30 million Swedish crowns maybe, which actually is quite cheap compared to the value that we generated.
And you were talking about the challenge of the marketing and getting those large vendors to actually recognize you and what you would give them. How did you manage to do that?
So I think it was actually a very, very good combination of the personality that I had and the personality that the founder of the company, Marcel Weinches, had. So he was extremely good on approaching the companies from a technical perspective, promoting the possibilities of the technology. I'm more strategic and relationship person. So in combination, it was actually a very good team, I would say. Which sort of, so we manage both the commercial part and the technical part in parallel and as a team.
Mm. And speaking of the team, what did the team look like? You said in the beginning it was 2 full-time and a couple of part-time workers. How did that develop throughout the years that you worked there?
So it was a pretty slow beginning. I mean, that's sort of normal, right? The first couple of years we sort of had we didn't grow that much in the beginning, but as we sort of started to gain interest, I would say that our strategy was to employ people not ahead of when they were needed, but as they were needed. Do you see what I mean? So and the main growth in the beginning was on the technical side. So when I joined, one of the first full-time employees was a system developer. But I mean, so we had the full-time was a system developer, and the other person was a regulatory quality and regulatory person to sort of get all the regulatory stuff in place. But as you start to get traction and interest in the market, then you also need to sort of estimate and mitigate risks. And it's for sure one risk if you have one system developer that sort of has the responsibility for all software code in the company. So that was so to grow the development side, and the software development department was actually sort of the first steps that we took. And then as we sort of moved into becoming a public company, we started to recruit a CFO on the financial side, and just step by step. When the development organization was at a certain size, sites, we employed a person who was responsible for all the developers and so on and so forth. So basically growth when and as it was needed.
And like I mentioned a bit before, Synthetic is listed on the stock market. And I would like to know a bit what that journey looked like, because you entered quite early, right? I would say. Why was that? Why was that decision made?
Yes, I think it was it was different reasons for that. So sorry, when I joined the company, it was owned by another company called Accelerator Nordic, which was listed on Aktietorget, or today's Spotlight Markets. And they took a decision in 2013 that they would not do any further investments, and they would sort of de-invest in the companies that they own at the moment. So then you basically have two options, right? Either they sell the ownership, or they sort of list the companies separately on the stock exchange and sort of give out the ownership to the shareholders of Accelerator. So it's complex, but that gave a situation when we got listed in 2013, we already had like 1,500 owners of the company. And then it's actually a benefit to be listed, because you need to manage all the owners in the same way, and so on and so forth. So I think that, I mean, it was early from the perspective that it was sort of 3 years before we reached profitability. But given the situation, I still think it was the right decision to do it, because we had to handle all those owners, and we also had a lot of experience in the board of directors from working with listed companies. So I think that it was right handled, but even though it might have been early.
Do you have any recommendations there, or is it just very individual depending on your company?
Individual, I think, but I mean, depending on type of industry and so on and so forth. But if you're considering to list a company, I think that firstly, I would say that it's best if you have started to get out on the market and you have sort of proven your business model, that people are actually prepared to pay what you ask for the service or product that you're offering the market. But the other thing is that I still think that it's a huge benefit if you have a strong sort of core ownership of the company. So you have investors together with the founders that still owns a fairly big chunk of the company, because otherwise you will be totally left out to big group of shareholders, and they maybe just own a small share of the company each. So who cares about the company at the end of the day then? I think that you should be careful, but to be a listed company is, I mean, I love it, to be honest. I mean, I love the market communication and so on and so forth.
All right, great advice. So and when you were basically hired, like we said, to be the CEO and to commercialize the product into the international market. Was there a certain reason why you guys focused on the international market that early on?
So I think that's I mean, it's several reasons, I would say. I mean, the traditional way, as we know it, is that you sort of start off your business in locally in Linköping or any other city, and then you sort of grow to regional business, and then to a national, and then maybe to neighboring countries and so on and so forth. But I mean, that's I would say that's not the standard reality anymore. I mean, your first business could be from the US or any other country in the world, because we're so global. Even though we have to be sort of, I mean, we have the pandemic, I mean, COVID and all that, but still we're global. We are very global, aren't we? And if you then have a very niche product like synthetic MR, I mean, then you just have to go global, because you will never survive on a local market or a national market. I mean, it's just not enough. So that was one of the reasons. The other reason is that the technology as such has a technical dependence to, or a technically dependent on the big vendors, because it's actually sort of two softwares. You need to collect the data from the patient in a certain way, and you need to post-process and create the value in a post-processing software. And in order to get that out on the market, we were sort of forced to have a collaboration with the big vendors as well. So, but even without such dependency, I would still, I mean, I'm with another startup now, and we are looking at the global market directly as well.
It's a larger market, and like you said, now everyone's going global, and it's easier to be on the international market now than it used to as well.
Yeah, and I think that if you're going for sort of the, I mean, now I'm talking about Medtech, right? But I mean, sort of all Medtech companies is such a niche product. So to have one product on one market is not enough. So then your choice is to sort of get more products in your portfolio, so you have more to offer in order to be able to survive or be profitable on one particular market. But I believe, on the other hand, that in order to get a new product out on the market, you need to be extremely focused, because you need to get through the noise out there in the markets. You need to be extremely focused to get your product out on the market. So if I should say one word, it's focus. That's what you need to have. And I think that counts for all industries, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. All right. I just want to remind the audience once again that if you have any questions, please feel free to write them in the Q&A function down below, and I will raise them. And Stefan will try to answer them. Okay. All right. Let's now fast forward a bit to the end of your journey with Synthetic. So after 7 years running this incredible company, you eventually decided to leave the company. What was the reason for that?
I think it was several reasons. I moved so when I joined the company, I lived in Norrköping. But in 2016, I moved to Stockholm. So the last couple of years, I was commuting between Linköping and Stockholm when I was not out and traveling in the world. So I came to sort of a point where it was time to put the next strategy in place for synthetic MR, to take the next growth step. And my opinion is that if you put such a plan in place, you need to commit to the company for another 3-4 years to execute the strategy. And I just felt that with the family in Stockholm and the company in Linköping, and I had done, I had already sort of done the journey from a startup to the phase we were at. I just felt that I had a hard time to motivate myself to take on another 4 years to bring the next level of strategy in place. And I think it's fair for the company as well, to be honest, that I think that you always need to sort of change leadership, not every year, but every now and then, because you need to sort of get new new blood, new ideas, new energy into the organization.
Mm.
So I think it was a good timing to sort of take the next step.
Mm. And it sounds like you're really enjoying the startup phase of a company. And
So
you mentioned that you're in another startup now. So what do you do now?
Also, the thing was, I just have to say, so the thing was that when I left synthetic MR, I said to myself that so this was extremely cool journey to do, but I will never do it again, because if I knew how much work it is to bring a startup out to the market, you should probably not do it. So I was sort of on about joining a company which is in another phase. But I realized that, no, this is actually what I love to do. So I joined another startup. So today, the difference today is that it's not software. It's a wire which you invasively can measure blood pressure to sort of diagnose whether you should put a stent in the coronary arteries or not. So that's something different, which is new challenges, right? Which I love. So now I have to learn and dig up all my old knowledge about how to sort of get a production to work as good as possible, and other challenges here. Simply, but it's fun.
But you're staying in the same kind of sector, at least.
Yeah, so I started to realize that I was actually open for other sectors as well when I left synthetic. But then I started to realize that all the experience and knowledge and capabilities that I sort of have gained during the 7-8 years at synthetic is applicable on a lot of other medtech startups. So that sort of pushed me back to the conclusion that I would like to work with startups, but it's probably good to stay in the same industry because I have a lot of things that I could add value with quite early.
Mm. And now if you look back at your journey with synthetic, and is there something that you would have done differently if you could do the same journey again? I bet you learned a lot during these years, but is there something you can pinpoint that you would have done?
Yeah, so I think, there is for sure a lot of things that you would do different, but the main part of those is, small details, or in the big context, it's details. But one thing that I would have done differently is that my view is that if you have a medical technology, you sort of, especially a technology like synthetic MR or Amra, which is another company in Linköping with a similar technology. You basically have two ways to get out on the market. One is I have this technology, and you put it in the hands of key opinion leaders or the life science influencers, and let them sort of decide which type of problem could be solved with this technology. The other way of going to the market is the way synthetic did, which is more, okay, so we have this technology, you will get these abilities if you implement it, and then we will see what happens. But what I had done differently is that I would have pushed for more clinical studies in an early phase, I think, which would have been even more focused than we were. We were very focused, but I would have been even more focused on in which clinical question could we sort of add the most value, and how can we sort of get enough proof out there to be a standardized software for that particular clinical question.
Mm. I actually have a question from the audience here. They're asking if you have any tips of what to think about when you're researching the need for a medtech product globally.
So I mean, one, so that's sort of a broad question, I would say, but I would try to start with trying to find a hospital or a clinician more locally. Like if you're located in Linköping, try to find a clinician at university hospital that are working in this area, or that has knowledge about the area where and then sort of start to discuss, to get to know more about how would this be used in a clinical setting, and or you could sort of approach the same type of person, but approach them with I have this thesis that if I develop this product, that would solve your problem, which I think that you have in this area. So there I think that it's good to start locally with somebody that you could discuss with. And then based on that information that you get from the clinicians, together with the idea that you have on your own about the product, then you can start to dig into, and then I think you could work quite a lot with Google, to be honest, to try to understand what is the market, is there a perceived problem? Yeah, so it's really, so that's my extremely generic approach, but it depends on which type of product it is, I would say.
I think it was great advice. I hope the audience found that useful as well. All right, so to wrap this up a bit, you are obviously really approve of breaking new ground and taking that step into the unknown. And I bet there are many people out there that are, they have aspirations of starting their own business, or they're curious about entrepreneurship or startups, but they don't really know or are scared of getting into that world. So what are your top advice to other entrepreneurial people who are curious about the startup world, but maybe they don't dare to take that step because it could be scary, or it's very scary for a lot of people?
But I think it depends on which sort of phase in your life you are at. I mean, in general, my recommendation would be that if you think about it, and if you sort of the small things I have had time to describe during this afternoon, I mean, if you feel that, yeah, this would be really fun, I still think that it would be a good journey. Jump and just do it. I mean, what is the worst thing that could happen? I mean, and if you answer that and you realize that, okay, and I can't live with that, which is the worst scenario, maybe you shouldn't do it, because you will go through that a lot of times during your journey. That, I mean, I would say that I said before that you have your ups and downs, but I mean, it's in reality, and this is no joke. In reality, it could be that in the morning you feel that you get some good news, and you feel that we will conquer the world, we will be the new gold standard. And in the afternoon you get some negative news, and then oh shit, this will never happen. We could as well just close down the business. And to have those ups and downs, I think that you need to sort of enjoy that. If you're a person that enjoys to live, close to the middle line, that every day is like the day before, then maybe you shouldn't do it.
Yeah, and to wrap it up, like you said in the beginning, you have to be a little bit insane as well, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's great. All right, Stefan, thank you so much for joining us here today. I think it was so interesting to listen to your journey.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right. So, and thank you to the audience who are here listening today. Like I said, these startup talks take place once per month. So the next one is in January after all the holidays. So on the 12th of January to be more precise. And then we have invited Karin Ackerholm, Innovation Advisor at Linköping University, to talk a bit about the various ways or journeys to entrepreneurship and how to future-proof your business. I hope that you will all join us then as well. And as always, keep an eye on our social medias and our website, lead.se, to stay updated with all our upcoming events. And you can also check out our previous startup talks on our YouTube channel, lead.se. If you missed them, I recommend you to do that. So again, thank you everyone who was here listening today, and I hope you have a nice afternoon. Bye everyone.